Hey guys, Carl from Purple Misplaced. Today we'll be taking a look at the 18-card game Super Slopes from designer Ted Heidersdorf and publisher Button Shy Games. This is a name you might recognize from another Button Shy game, At the Helm, but this time rather than building another deck-building game, this is a sort of tableau, tile-laying kind of game in which you are assembling a ski slope in order to score points based on a variety of different conditions. Disclaimer, I was given a review copy of this game for the video, but as always I will do my best to give you my own honest opinion on the game. With that said, let's head down to the table to see how the solo mode in this one plays, and then I'll meet you back up top to let you know what I think. To set up a solo game of Super Slopes, begin by taking the deck of cards, giving it a shuffle, and placing it out on the table. Then from that deck of cards, drawing 5 and making a column of cards, stacking them in such a way that the highest numbered card is at the top of that column and the lowest numbered card is at the bottom of that column. So in this case, we'll start with 11 at the top, 9, 7, 6, 3 in a column straight down. Placing the cards out like this in such a way that the paths or the slopes connect from card to card. And like that, we're all set up to play the game. Super Slopes is going to play out over a series of 8 rounds, and in each round you'll start by yourself drafting one of these cards and adding it to your tableau, and then the AI will take their turn drafting a card. The AI doesn't have a tableau of any kind, it will simply collect a hand or a stack of cards that will score at the end of the game. But let me explain how the game works, how the scoring works, and then I'll come back to talk about how the AI works. But the point is that as we build a tableau out here on the table, the cards will be placed horizontally adjacent to each other like this so that the pathways meet. But when stacking top and bottom, they're always going to be staggered like this, so that the left bottom path on one card touches the right top path on another card. And again, we're going to be playing out over 8 rounds, so there are going to be 8 cards total in my tableau that make a sort of path through the ski slopes. And then once we've done that, we're going to go ahead and score the sort of tableau that's been built through the game. And the way that's going to work is this. We're going to choose one color of these diamonds, either purple, pink, or orange, and we'll score 1 point for each of those that the pathway goes through on the way down the mountain. In addition, if the pathway goes past any Yetis, we're going to lose 1 point. You'll also see that on some cards there are these sort of forest spaces. If the pathway hits a forest, that is the end of the path, unless before going through that forest you have passed through one of these energy symbols. And for every energy symbol you've passed through, you can clearly get through one of the forest spaces. Also, you can also use an energy to cancel the -1 of the Yetis. So these energy are going to protect you from Yetis and also allow you to pass through forest areas in your card. But at the end of the game, for any 2 energy you have remaining that haven't been spent on Yetis or forests, you will score 1 point. So again, 2 energy, 1 point. And then the majority or the big part of your scoring is going to come from 2 other places. As you're going through the path that you've connected on the cards, anytime you move from a higher numbered card to a lower numbered card, you'll score 2 points. And anytime your path loops back on itself, so if I had come down this path out here and then looped around and come back this way, I'll score an additional 2 points for every loop that's been made. It's worth mentioning that moving from, say, from 11 to 9 could happen multiple times if there's a loop. So if I go into the 9, into a higher card and back in, and then somehow back through that 11 or back through that 9, I will score points every time I move from one card to a lower card going down the hill. But there's a catch. When drafting the cards to put into your tableau, you can only draft a card that can be accessed from a path on the top card. So following these pathways, the left path goes out the top. This side path here goes down and out the side of this second card. And this path here goes all the way down into the third card and out the side, which means on this turn right now, I can choose one of these top 3 cards. However, you'll also notice that some of these cards have symbols on them. And these symbols are special abilities that you can unlock throughout gameplay If you have two cards with a matching symbol, or I should say two or more cards with a matching symbol in your tableau, you get that ability for the rest of the game. This yellow ability is the stop ability. And the stop ability allows you to pick up any cards in between where that trail from the top card starts and where it ends. So if I had a trail that went all the way to the bottom card, but none of those trails came out in a middle card, I could choose one of the middle cards if I had the stop icon. This plus card is simply going to add a sixth card to the column of cards I can draft from. And there's one more symbol, it's a green card with an arrow on it, and that is the jump card. The jump card allows you to move one further card in the draft. So for example, in this case, following this pathway, I could get to the third card. If I had the jump ability, I could also choose to draft this fourth card. Now the Yeti is going to do the exact same thing I'm doing, except the Yeti will follow all of the paths on the top card and will always choose the card that is lowest in the column. And then at the end of the game, sorry, I said the Yeti, but I mean the AI opponent, is simply going to be scoring points based on the number of energy and the number of diamonds that are on their drafted cards. And it doesn't matter for them what color the diamonds are, they're simply scoring 1 point per diamond and 1 point, sorry, 1 and 1 doesn't make 2. 1 point per diamond and 1 point per energy on any of the cards, or the 8 cards, that the AI will have at the end of the game. So that's basically it for the game. So let me go ahead and get into gameplay, and hopefully you'll see exactly how that plays out as we get into gameplay. So again, following the paths on the card as I did in the how to play, this one goes here, this one comes out the second card, and this one comes out the third card. So I can draft from these top 3 cards. Here I see one of 2 different kinds of diamonds. Here I see a pink diamond, here I see 2 purple and an energy. I might focus on that and aim for purple, except that there's also pink here, there's also orange here. There are no other purple. That doesn't mean they aren't coming out, but that doesn't mean that I should focus on that simply because it's 2. I could also focus on higher cards and then potentially then get lower cards along the way to keep going downhill to score that downward path. Double energy is not bad to have. I see both of these together would get me an extra card to draft from. That's a stop card, which is also nice to have moving forward. And because of that, I'm going to take that, actually, that 11 card, and we'll see how that plays out. This gives me 2 options, pink or orange. Orange has a great card here. Pink has a great card here. Having a stop ability, if I can get it early, is great because it gives me more flexibility in cards to draft. So I'm going to take that. We'll turn over the next card for the end of my turn. That's a 2. So it slots at the bottom like this. And unfortunately, what that means is I think I just gave the Yeti something big, because this goes out here, this goes out the second card, and this goes out the second card, which means the Yeti is taking that second card, which is scoring them 3 points. I'm going to just set their hand over here out of the way. Turning over the next card is 4. So sliding those up, slotting the 4 in there, and then here. All right, well, I got orange or pink. If I follow the trails, this one comes out the top. This one loops back to the top. So I have to take the top card, which is a bit of a problem. But I know that the Yeti will not, I mean, we don't know because I don't know what's coming out the top, but I don't think the Yeti is going to take this card. So taking this one's not a bad idea because I can connect that to the other pink. So we'll start like that. And now I'm also working towards 2 different abilities. Another card 14 goes here. And that's great because that means they have to take this top card, which is good and bad because I want this card because it's very helpful for me, but also because I won't be able to get that stop symbol. But that's fine. I'm going to take, oh no, sorry, they're going to take that card because just to double show you, this loops back up, this goes there, so they have to take the top card. I add in, we got a 12, which is a problem now because I don't have jump yet and I don't have stop yet. So my only option is to take the top card as well. But now I will have stop, because that also, again, loops back to the top card. But now I have the stop ability, so it gives me a little bit more option moving forward. I'd like to find a way to loop back if I can. This one goes out here, this one goes up. I can do that, which loops across. I can do that. Well, that doesn't connect to anything. That goes through a Yeti. I don't want that to happen. Yeah, I'm just going to use this down here like this. Because still that's a 12, 11, 9. Now I can stop. The next card coming out is a 10, slots on top, which means again, because this one goes out there and this one loops back, the Yeti has to take that card, which again gets them 3 points. Is not great, but it is what it is. Turning another card, 1 goes to the bottom, shifting up. And in doing that, I just realized that the 3 and 4 are backwards, but I haven't been able to get past the 6 in a while, so that hasn't affected anything yet. But it might do now. Let's see what's happening. No power is available for me, except I am able to stop. But right now, I don't think I want to stop, because I want to find a way to make use of that loop. I like the double pink. I want more pink. So I am going to take that. Now with what I've got, all of these loop back to 6, but I could use my stop to stop in the middle of the path and take 4 instead. But I don't think I'm going to do that. Let me just see what happens if I do take 6. They're probably going to get something. Whatever goes here is going to loop back on itself. So probably they're going to get, definitely, because here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Whatever card comes out is the card that the Yeti is going to have to take. So I'm taking that 6. And I want to find a way to make this thing loop back on something I've got already. Now, it would be great if you could place that way, but that's why you can't place that way. So I can place it here, or I can place it here. And I'm not on that pathway. This is my pathway. Although coming down the same thing at the other side, I could place it here. But if I do it here, if I can get a loop, something here, then that's a loop on my track, and I get energy. And if we come through here, 12, 11, 9, 6, that's all down. So that's great. Drawing another card is 13, comes back out, and just like I said before, that loops on itself, so the only card the AI can take is that one. Another one comes out, 17. Now this is where I get an option. This is the jump that I was talking about before, which would be nice to have, but I don't have any jump icons. I don't want to block any Yetis. I do want to find something that turns up to left. And unfortunately, this has an up to right. This is a loopy one. This is a straight line. Straight lines are not a bad thing, but I don't have anywhere that ends in a straight line right now. Because if this loops, I've got an up here, and following the other direction, I get a down here. Means I wouldn't mind having that 17, because it's a jump, and it could be a loop. It could be a loop. I don't know that I want it to be a loop, but it could be a loop. And if it's not, it's still a 17, 12, 11, 9, 6, all downhill, which is great. Problem is, if it's a loop, I've got a Yeti on that loop, but we'll deal with that when it happens. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Turning over a card for AI, which is great. It's a shame because it's the other jump that I needed, but that's only 1 energy and no diamonds, so they only get 1 point. Next card flips. Ooh, that's a jump. But it's also nice, if I take this 4, hold on, that's exactly the piece I need for right here, and it gets me the jump. Yeah, I need to take that card and slot that right there. Although, if I do that, No, this is good. Put that there. Now I have a jump ability as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to play to 8, so I get 2 more. AI goes. It's a lot of points for the AI, but that's fine. It loops back on itself. They get this card. Next comes out this one. All right, now is when I get a little bit of an opportunity. But not really, because the only edges on this card are this one and this one both go to the top. This bottom is a loop, so that doesn't mean anything to me. But what that means is, I'm thinking out loud, I can use a jump to take this 3. So I can use the 5 or the 3, I would guess. Hold on. This is a weird situation because that 5 doesn't really have any paths. Jump says skip 1 card along the run. Treat the cards before and after the skip card as connected. So basically I can skip that one and pick this one, I guess, but I'm not quite sure how that works. And this has 3 on it anyway, so I don't want him to get that, so I'm going to take it and put the 5. That's a shame. I'd love to put it here, but in order to flip it so that it matches, no, that works just like that. And realistically, if I don't mind another Yeti, I can loop there and cross myself again. We'll see what happens. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I get 1 more. The AI still gets 2. Let me just count to double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, the Yeti still has 2. This loops back on itself. The Yeti gets that one worth 2 points. I keep calling him the Yeti. The AI, I guess the AI in my brain is the Yeti because he's not a nice guy. Then, we don't have any more cards to draw, but we will play out the 1 round left using these cards. I can go this card, same thing, this card, and I'm going to imagine that I can jump. The problem is, if I take this card, but hold on, there is no path between these cards, so I think a jump from here means just to here. And if I do that, the Yeti has to take this card as 3 points. But if I take this card, we're going to travel all the way down to here, and he's going to take this bottom card worth 4 points. And I don't like that. So I am using my jump to take that one. And if I broke the game, I'm sorry. The cards have been coming out in these weird loops this time. So I'm going to take that one, and I will leave a comment later if I find out that's not possible. And can I connect? I can, but it's going to cost me 2 Yetis. So I pick up 2 points, but I lose 1 point. Yeah, that's fine. Unless, yeah, that's just as bad. That's a tree. But that's also a 3, which is good for the sequence of things like that. And that means the Yeti is stuck with this card at the top. It does get them 3 points, the Yeti, the AI. And that right there is the end of the game. So I'm going to score the AI first, so that I know what my sort of goal is. We've got 1 point per energy and diamond. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 points for the Yeti. Because I've all but decided now that the AI is the Yeti. So he gets 19 points. And then for me, I'm going to start just following the path and counting things. So starting at this side, and we are looking at pink, but we might look at orange. So let's go through and see. If I go through this pathway, I pass 1, 2, 3, 4 orange, or 1, 2, 3, yeah. Either way, it's 4 points for diamonds. And then going through the pathway, we pass 2 energy, but then use both energies to avoid the Yetis, so there are no points for energy. So finally, I need to look at the downhill slopes, and I need to look at the loops. So going, let's see, from 17 to 12 is 1 down. Then 12 to 11 is 2. 11 into 9 is 3. 9 into 6 is 4. 6 into 18 is not. but then 18 back to 9 is 5. 9 to 5 is 6. 5 to 3 is 7, and then 3 back into 9 is nothing, and that's the end. So 7 times 2 is 14. And then the number of loops, I looped back 1 here, and I looped back again, crossing here twice. So that's 2 loops, times 2 is another 4 points. So I finished with a score of 22 to the AI, or the Yetis, 19 points. And that's a win, yay. So while I'm here, I do like to take a look at the components. The components in this case are the cards. You've seen them on the screen the whole time. I do love the way that this game looks. It's a very cool sort of topological map. The Yetis pop out in real nice places. You see all these little flags on the curves. The colors are really nice. The map looks really cool together when it's all built out. I do like that the sort of runs are marked with different diamonds, as the sort of ski slopes might be black diamond and those kinds of diamond symbols. Really, really cool. The iconography for the special powers is very easy to see. I'll show you real quick the back of the cards. Very cute. It's just a nice little slope with this little skier on it. I really dig the look of this game. But that's basically it for the components, so there's not much else I can say, except that I also do like to take a look at the wallet. Button Shy games always do come in a wallet. And the wallet this time is just a plain white wallet with the sort of title written here, Super Slopes, as if they were sort of ski slopes. I don't know how I feel about this one. I might get a little ire for this, but this wallet for me is just a little bit underwhelming. It feels somewhat amateurish, and I don't know how I feel about the sort of mix of capital letters and lowercase letters, but I'm being picky. It doesn't look bad. It's just not one of my favorites of the Button Shy wallet designs, but it is what it is, and it's easy to read, and the colors pop, and it's not horrible. With that said, meet me back up top, and I'll let you know what I think about the game itself. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. Here we've got another game from Button Shy, similar to games like Sprawlopolis or more recently River Wild, where you're sort of laying cards down on the table in some kind of spatial or some kind of arrangement tableau that's scoring points based on how they are placed together and how they're fit together out on the tabletop. So seeing another game of this type coming from Button Shy, you have to first say, you know, was this necessary? Did we need another one of these layout cards in a grid to score points based on layout? And ultimately, originally I was kind of concerned that this is going to be another one of those games, but I'm going to say that this continues the trend that Button Shy has of making these games and twisting them just enough in another unique kind of way that this game definitely continues to play differently than all of the ones that they've put out before. And I have to say that I think this is different enough to enjoy it, and I also have to say that I really do enjoy this game. And more importantly, let me say this. Of all of them, maybe not all of them, but of many of them, this one feels more thematic as far as how the game works than most or at least many of the previous games of this kind from Button Shy. And let me explain what that means. Basically, like the other games, this game is all about drafting cards in an open drafting system from an available set of cards and then placing them into your sort of play area, your tableau, to score based on how they place down. So there are sort of two main things that work here, the draft and the way that they're placed. And in previous games like Sprawlopolis or like River Wild or even like Unsurmountable, basically the draft was just you have cards available to you, you take from those cards. But here the draft has been sort of kicked up 1 or even 2 levels. The first piece is that you have to follow a path from the starting card sort of down the hill to a sort of exit point, and you can only choose the cards that have those exit points along the way, which already really sort of connects you into that feeling of skiing down a hill. It is Super Slopes, it is a skiing themed game. So even in the draft, you feel as if you're skiing to the card that you want to draft. And it really does add to the thematic feeling of the game, but more importantly, it adds a level of preparation sort of for next rounds, and more importantly, preparation for preventing your opponent, both in the multiplayer game and even in the solo game against the AI, preventing your opponent from getting specific cards by paying attention to what cards will be left behind when you take the card and what potential kinds of pathways might pop out in the next round as you draw that card to replace the card that you've drafted. And that's a really cool extra level of thought that goes into a very simple open drafting, take a card from a pile of cards kind of system. Now, there is a little bit of negative here because as you saw in my playthrough, sometimes those paths just keep looping back to that first card, and all you can do is just take the card that's given to you because there's nothing else that you can do. But that adds two things. Number one, that adds to the placement piece, which is what I'm going to talk about next, in that you have to then be creative about how you're placing those cards into your tableau in order to score the most points at the end of the game. But more importantly, it ties into the second piece that kicks up the second level to the draft, and that is the powers or the abilities in this game. So now I'm drafting cards not only to help me in the slopes and help me in my final scoring in the game, but if I can draft two cards with the same sort of ability symbol on them, now I get the ability to do more in the game. And you saw two of these in my playthrough. I didn't get a chance to show you the extra card, but again, the extra card just adds a sixth card to the available cards and basically just gives you a little bit more variability about what's coming out or a little bit more information about what's coming next. But the other two abilities are the important piece here when we're talking about the drafting mechanism, because you've got this jump and you've got this stop ability. And the stop ability lets me pause anywhere in the middle of a slope. So if I have a slope that starts at the top card and goes all the way down to the bottom card, I can stop at any of the cards in between and draft that card. That's pretty powerful. Likewise with the jump ability, if I have a card that only goes down one or goes down two, well, now I can go down one additional card and it gives me an additional card that I can draft into my playing area, which is great because then in the cases where you get stuck with that top card, you then have the ability to jump to the next card, or you then have the ability to stop in the middle of the pathway to take a card. And it really does add another layer to that drafting system. That's not, again, just taking a card from a pool, but taking a card from a specific pool based on how things connect and then using your abilities to take other cards that don't follow that pattern. And I think that's a really cool twist on an open drafting system. I'm actually running a board game design and mechanism course after school at the school where I teach right now, and the first mechanism we taught or we learned about was open drafting. And again, most of the time it's just here's an available set of cards, pick one. But this twists that up, and I appreciate the thought that's gone into both how do I change such a simple mechanism, but also how does that tie in thematically to the theme of the game. And I think that's been done really wonderfully here. Now, the next piece of this is the laying out cards in a pattern to make sort of some kind of scoring based on systems. And this is where it gets a little bit closer to some of those older games like Sprawlopolis, like Unsurmountable, like River Wild, and more specifically like Unsurmountable and River Wild, in the way that the cards lay down sort of on a staggered spot. Except that stagger is also then straight across like a normal side-by-side layout. But again, that's similar to the mountain style of the Unsurmountable layout, or the way that the rivers kind of split and went down in River Wild. So the laying down of the tiles or the laying down of the cards here is not as unique, but then the way that this scores again is again very, very thematic to the theme of this game because you're building ski slopes. Building a path here means something because the path actually has some kind of character or some kind of meaning to it. And the things that you're passing along the way do something or mean something, right? Those diamonds on the map is the way that you sort of mark different slopes down a mountain on a map of a real ski slope. Pretty cool. And the fact that if you can get more of the same symbol matching on a path, it makes sense because that whole trail should be the same diamond color if that's a marked trail on the map. So you're trying to sort of maximize the number of those diamonds on the same trail. Good stuff. The fact that the slope may accidentally go through a forest or might accidentally run past a Yeti. These are kinds of fun obstacles you might run into in a real or in a fantasy real kind of skiing situation. And the fact that those are things that there are obstacles blocking you or that might mess up the path that you're building, and then giving you the ability to get those energy to sort of get past them or to sort of work your way without losing points from the Yeti or without being stopped by the forest. It's another little sort of wrinkle in the plan that as you're building this path, you can't just connect things together. You have to make sure that you can actually survive down the mountain. And that's pretty cool. And then more importantly, the main scoring here. The main scoring is that sort of numbers of the cards are decreasing as you go, and that you're looping as much as possible. Well, the looping thing is cool, but just because the looping is an interesting mechanism, an interesting thinking process here, because it's not always clear which paths are going to connect back into other paths. And you kind of have to start building things, and then later on in the second half of the game, try and figure out how to connect those things together. And it really does make for a sort of nice change from this sort of early setup and the final sort of end game finishing as you're sort of filling in all the holes on your mountain is really, really cool. But more importantly, the fact that I'm going downhill means this idea of counting down numbers as I'm going through my pathway or through my ski slope makes a lot of thematic sense, because I'm actually going down, 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 down sequentially, and there might be the occasional hill in the middle of my slope, so going up and then back down makes sense. But if we don't have this down, there is no way that I'm riding a ski downhill, because if it's uphill, I'm not going anywhere. So thematically, it's a really cool idea that you're going downhill so that you're scoring points based on this decreasing series of numbers. And it's something I haven't seen in a game like this. So with this combination of a unique twist on open drafting and this kind of thematic twist on how the pathways score as you connect them together, really does make for a whole lot of fun in this game. Now, if there's anything else negative about it, it does feel a little bit samey every time you play, but I've seen rumblings in the Button Shy Discord that there are expansions coming for this. So if there's another way to add some more interesting twists into this game, I'm very excited to see what those are, and I can't wait to see what comes out next for this game, because I do really enjoy it. And if this kind of drafting and placing into a tableau kind of game is something you're interested in, if you are a fan of Sprawlopolis, if you are a fan of Unsurmountable, if you are a fan of River Wild or those kinds of games, I definitely recommend you check this one out. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and as always, if you did, I do ask that you like, subscribe, and click the bell icon below, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks.